Jimmy in the morning. Super Bowl team and now these haters salty. Rockin' Zenny shades to the championship ship. That Nick Bosa drop him hard like a hit stick. The Jimmy Ward intercept him with a big six. Like Debo, we gon' knock him like a brick. The Trey Lance.
All right. Love those highlights.
What's up? What's up?
Eat that, NFL copywriters. How about that?
Exactly. Video brought to you by our own Maddie.
What's up, everybody? I'm Niners Jess, along with Ty, Maddie, your girl Bex. We are the East Coast Red and Gold. First things first, happy birthday, Ty.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We're going to sing you a little happy birthday song before we get going. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy
Birthday, dear Ty.
Happy birthday to you.
And the 49ers swept the Rams.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
The 49ers gave you their gift a few days early. I hope you don't mind.
And I appreciate it.
And it's also James Arthur's birthday today.
It is.
And Hassan Ridgway.
Yep.
Time out. Back up.
Uh-oh.
Hold on.
Rewind.
Let me do the Zach Morris. Let me do the Zach Morris timeout. Okay. All right. Let's stop for just a second. Okay. Ty and Jimmy Garoppolo share a birthday.
Indeed.
What?
Yep.
I find that amazing. I just find that absolutely. I want everyone to just sit and think about that for just a second. He's really, really hard on Jimmy, yet they share the same birthday.
When I saw this morning that it was Jimmy's birthday, and then just before I saw that it was Ty's birthday, I'm like, oh my God.
We can be hard on each other, because we share a day.
Siblings are like that, right?
Yep.
Sibling
Birthday brothers. Yes,
Exactly.
birthday brothers.
Birthday brothers. Wow. That's just crazy. That's amazing.
If we had, you know what? I'm not saying that we have a videographer or anything. I think we do. I think like that'd be a great skit, like you and him, birthday brothers.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be great, and you could do like some sort of brother song behind it or
fighting on the
something.
couch.
Exactly.
Yeah, be great. Be a good time. Like, and then you could like take the Step Brothers thing and like you could put Jimmy's picture in one and like you could go in the other. It'd be great. Yeah, of course, obviously. I mean, like you're doing the video, not him. So, that's how that works.
So did you do anything fun today?
I just worked all day.
Welcome to adulthood.
Work for the show.
Welcome to the fun part of your day, then. I guess
Exactly. This is when the party begins.
All right,
Correct.
cool.
Correct.
All right, Maddie. So since you were at the game on Sunday, why don't you, from your point of view, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Am I cool to just call myself the correspondent at this point? Like,
Yep.
is that
Sure, go ahead.
The man in Havana at this point. First off, it's probably one of the greatest just atmospheres in terms of like, if you're a 49ers fan and you're going to a game, you're going to a home game. This is similar to going to Levi's Stadium. A lot of these people have been fans for years, and the reason they became 49ers fans is because the Rams, in case many of you did not know this, abandoned Los Angeles for approximately 2 decades, okay? They even won a Super Bowl, which they have, put on that stadium that they actually won in another city, which I believe they recently had to pay like $12.5 billion to or something.
Yep.
It's just some sort of Shamil thing. It's just ridiculousness. But the fact of the matter is that 20-year gap allowed the red and gold to just flow right in, right? Just flow right in behind it. And the vacuum is there, man. Like it was, you've seen the photos, like, and I sent you guys photos of the tweet that went viral. They put Rams house with all the red like around it. Like it's just after it was 23-14, which was one of the videos you saw in there. In fact, you'll actually see a photo of me later of me posting the video that was on the tweet. So, and I had to look for myself, and I'm like, I wonder if I'm like, nope, yep, there I am. I had to look for this, and I found it. So, it was a rough start, and I was really concerned that they were going to do another Atlanta thing where they just couldn't get through and just they were going to wear out. But they actually made adjustments in the second half. They came out firing in the third quarter, which I thought was huge. Like they had struggled in the third quarter all year.
Mhm.
And then, as we've talked about, what have we talked about for 2 weeks? Having somebody that can move the chains on third down,
Yeah.
right?
McCaffrey. Yep.
From the sky, St. Walsh delivers us the man we needed, right? Clearly. That's clearly what happened here. There's no other, like, I can't believe how many things I've read about Bill Walsh saying that Roger Craig was the one that unleashed the power of the West Coast offense. Well, you just watched what Christian McCaffrey could do, what he could do for Jimmy Garoppolo. P.S. He did this for him without Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
Also heard a great story this week on the radio that Deebo Samuel went to Jed York's office and thanked him.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. That's pretty cool.
And like the videos, like Jimmy and Christian and Juice and Kittle, like it's like Christian's been there the whole time. Like like he was original, like he was supposed to be there the whole time. This is a match made in heaven. Every single touchdown, more Rams fans out the door, out the door, out the door.
And
it was just a full sea of bread at the end.
Some people said that we didn't need him.
I'm surprised we pulled the trigger. I honestly couldn't believe we pulled the trigger, but like, come on, that would be crazy.
These are the same people that would be like, why didn't they do anything? I can't believe they didn't do anything.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. These other teams are doing stuff. Why aren't we doing stuff?
They still have 9 picks next year, and they'd probably blow the first and second rounder anyways. Okay, so for God's sakes, let's take a run at Christian McCaffrey. Hey, wow, it worked. No matter what, they swept the Rams. They're done. Okay, that's it. Unless they have to be played again, they're done. Also, later on, I know we have another homework assignment, but later on, I'm going to unleash something. I actually spent about an hour this afternoon kind of looking through the NFC playoff picture, schedules remaining, stuff like that. I think I figured out how we're going to win the Super Bowl and who we're going to face. And we may get a preview of it later in the year already, but we'll talk about that more later on.
Wow.
But yeah, it was a great weekend. Great time. Highly recommend it. If you have a friend in LA, just ask them if you can use their shower. That's it. That's all you gotta do. Can I use your shower and your couch? That's all you did. That's it. Don't get a hotel. Don't do anything ridiculous. Everybody's got a friend that lives in LA or somewhere near the area, right? Like
that's true. So, that is true.
Period.
I do.
Use your couch.
Yeah.
Get in, get out. So good time. Highly recommend. Ticket prices are ridiculous, but the food's pretty good. And the tailgating was great. Everybody was really good. I got some really good food there. Something spicy. I don't know what I had, and then people were dancing. Then there was line dancing. All hell broke loose. Honestly, it was
basically just a 49ers tailgate there.
It was a 49ers road trip. Like it was like it was like we went to go see Jacksonville, and like they just swallowed it up. Right? It was like one of those deals. It's like when you go to a Royals game and they're playing the Yankees, and like most of the Yankees fans from out of town come in, or when a team's really struggling, like the Rangers are really bad or something. Oh, here come all the Yankees fans, and to swallow it up for whatever. So it was kind of the same. It was the same bag, man. So
it's the same stuff. Always, though. Every time
I've never been out there, so that's definitely on my my list.
Yeah,
definitely put it on the bucket list.
Might be my road game next year.
Yeah,
it's
we should probably do that maybe as a group, guys, because it's right near the airport. Like all the stuff is right there too. There's all sorts of shuttles, so you don't have to drive. None of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like
that's actually where I stayed. I stayed very close to the airport, and we were able to Uber to most places, or somebody would pick us up and just pick us up, drop us off. Because
from the airport,
right? It's that way. Yeah.
Yeah, we had shuttle from the airport, and then we had shuttle from the hotel to the game, and they're like, pick us up at certain time, right? So
nice.
in my case, that's when I was out there last year. This time I didn't have any hotel. I just took a shuttle from the airport directly to the tailgate lot, and then hung out there.
Don't mind my roller bag.
Hung out there until it's time to go in. Yeah. No, I didn't. No, I didn't have a roller bag. When I travel with one small clear backpack, and I roll up everything really tiny in the bottom just in case I need to switch anything out. Yeah.
He's like the ultimate traveler.
I know.
Yeah.
Actually, I learned a lot in Atlanta.
In and out. In and out, man. Like, I left here at 2 a.m. I left here at 2:15 a.m. Sunday morning. And I was back, and I was at Jameson's doctor's appointment by 9 o'clock Monday. So it was good. I would have been home by noon if I could have gotten right home, but couldn't do that because, couldn't get that lucky. And I couldn't really sleep on the plane that good. So I fly standby, and you kind of get like good seats. So, or you might get good seats, or you might not. So on the way out, I got the really good seats, and I could lay down or whatever, and I got to sleep, and it was good. And I'm like, oh, I really like to get these seats on the way home. I, of course, did not get that seat on the way home. So I got some guy with like sleep apnia, and like he did not have a CPAP machine. So it was good. It was nice and
wonderful.
So
5.5 hour flight.
I listened to podcasts, and we celebrated the 49ers game. So it was good. Yeah. How do you guys watch the game? Like when you're not at the game, what do you do?
It depends. I either watch it at home or I go out to a bar to watch it.
Yeah, same.
I normally watch it at home because I just tend to go crazy sometimes.
Yeah, this season I've been watching it at home.
I just watch it at home.
I love yelling at my own TV.
Exactly.
and no one being around to judge.
Hear me as I swear way too much. Yeah.
And of course I have my air horn too. So when they were scoring the touchdowns and everything, I would go outside and blow the air horn and so.
But this really obnoxious plastic clapper thing that makes the most horrible noise. So it's fun to take to away games.
That's amazing.
Of all the opposing people, but yeah, sometimes I get a little excited.
The only thing missing is the vuvuzela, right?
I was just thinking that. Yeah. I was just thinking that from the World Cup. Yep.
Yep. Oh man.
But yeah, my neighbors love me every Sunday.
Oh, well they do.
Oh, I have a serious question, guys. I meant to bring up. Where Jeff Wilson got traded, which I'm sure we'll talk more about at some point. Does that mean Christian McCaffrey is going to switch his number to 22? Do you think he likes this 23 thing?
I hope he stays 23. And
I think he'll switch. I don't think he will.
I don't think he'll switch because I feel like this is like clean slate, fresh start.
Yeah.
So
brand new start, clean.
And he's already made an impact at a splash with 23.
Yep.
I don't see him switching it to 22.
And you can't switch
these people who bought the jerseys, like myself included.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that. I told my guy to just hold the order until tonight because I wanted to make sure that there was no. I want to make sure there was no announcement coming out that Christian McCaffrey is changing his number to 22. Like because even so, then I really thought about it. Like you'd still have like a pretty cool collector's edition number 23, right? From like the 1 week that he had it. And then you just have a reason to go get the 22.
Got a hat trick in there too.
Correct, right? And I mean, let's face it, that's the Jordan number anyway. So I think athletes don't mind it. If shoot, I got 23, shucks, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a little rub on it. I don't know what it is. Maybe that's what they needed. Maybe that was the sage piece that they needed. He just needed to change his number from 22 to 23, right? Because as they said on SpongeBob, what's funnier than 24? 25, right? So what's better than 22? Clearly 23.
Yep.
So how did you guys feel about the trade, Ty?
Jeff Wilson trade?
Yes.
For Jeff Wilson?
Yep.
Sad to see him go.
Yeah.
Because I personally just like Jeff Wilson Jr. ever since he came in, all he did was work hard, run hard. That first game he started, it was because everyone got hurt. We had no one else to turn to but him.
Yep.
And he ran his butt off, So I'm just sad to see him go because I personally liked him. But from a business standpoint, wow, we got something for nothing. He's going to be a free agent next year. We weren't going to re-sign him, most likely, crowded backfield. And to be able to get any kind of pick for him, it's great. It's great from a team standpoint. It's great. So,
and to add to that, he was undrafted. So we took an undrafted guy and turned him into a draft pick.
Exactly.
So, if we can do that every time, hey, we've got a winning recipe right there, right?
Exactly.
A bird of draft picks. But I was pleased that we at least got something. Obviously we're going to get something for him, but you're right. He was a great addition and filled in some big gaps for us when we needed him. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's a business, so they're going to make some moves that aren't always the best or pleasing to everyone. But I think we made a good move.
I agree with that. I mean, getting a draft pick just to to add to next season, and I think that was a good thing. But I'm sad to see him go. I really liked him. Yeah. When I ran into him in Atlanta, like he was so humble, so nice. Yeah. And I was just but I knew it was coming. I think like last week they started mentioning things. You heard rumblings.
Yeah, you heard the rumors. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but wish you the best, Jeff.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you, El Jefe. Yeah. But such a cool guy too. I remember in the Jacksonville game last year, I was out there, and it was a beautiful day. So just hanging out after the stadium, waiting for players to come out, say hi. And he was one of the few guys that came over and said hi to people, and really stuff. Just humble, just appreciative of us giving him love, so it was very cool.
That's always the best when they are that way. So you do hate to see those personalities leave.
Yep.
For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Always cheer for the good guys. That's no matter where they go, like good luck to him. Hope he lands well, and as long as he does well and not against us, fine.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, some people forget that it's a business.
Yeah.
Which sometimes I do. But it is a business, unfortunately. And, he went to the Miami Niners. So
the Miami Niners. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel's getting all our players.
All of them.
Mike poaching again.
He likes who he likes. He likes our guys,
Well, because we run similar systems, obviously. So you want to have people in there that, but I mean,
just pick it up. Yeah,
exactly.
And it's also the evil versus the evil you don't know, right? Like you're already very familiar with the players on the team. So you get a chance to pick somebody up that you think will work. Hey, why wouldn't you?
That should be a
Thank you for letting me it should be. Thank you for letting me run and get a charger, by the way, as I noticed that my iPad was about to die. I'm like, maybe I should charge that. Maybe I should give that a little plug in, give that a little try, see how that works. What was good about the Wilson thing, and the thing that I really liked about it was, Miami made a run at him. They're like, oh, we'll give you a 7th or a 6th. And they're like, no, we'll keep him. And then they ended up getting desperate. And, they gave you the what you doing text on Monday. And, they get a 5th rounder for him. I mean, it is really good business. And I think the other thing that this does is it shows you that they feel real confident about the health of Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really positive sign, because I know we've been, for a long time, guys, I feel like every other episode has been like this injury, that injury, your injury, my injury, like the world's most renowned orthopedist and all this other stuff, right?
Right.
Kyle was like, "Well, this is awkward, but I didn't have any injuries this week, right?"
Right.
Yeah, no injuries to report.
You're gonna have some folks getting healthy, and also here's a kicker. Here's a fun one. They have exactly one more game left on turf this year, unless they have to go on the road in the playoffs. Depending on where they go. That's huge. That's so huge.
That's great.
So huge. There's no more East Coast travel, right? That's all done with, unless again playoffs. I mean, probably. So I mean, that's how that goes. So things are really setting up well. Like I really think that it's one of those deals where they're going to look back and they're going to be like, wow, that really changed. That whole thing, trading Christian McCaffrey, changed momentum. That's going to be the fulcrum point. And also, we're going to go back to fulcrum points later when we talk about those players. Very similar thing happened in 1981.
Maddie, bringing us to history.
There we
That's what I do.
And
Old man Niner from the mountain. Yes.
Yeah. And on top of there not being any injuries, we have the reinforcements that are coming back as well.
Yeah.
A whole slew of guys are coming back.
The list was long.
It was long. And I was so happy to see all the names that were, possibly coming back. Even Javon Kinlaw was one of them. So
Brian asks, is Mexico grass or turf? That is a grass stadium.
I was going to say it's probably
That
grass.
is a grass stadium.
Yeah, Mexico's grass.
That is a grass stadium. Yes.
I think the only turf they have left is Seattle.
Yeah. That stadium in Mexico was grass, and they tried to be cheap and go to turf, and a whole bunch of soccer players got injured.
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
Grass. So there you go.
Yep.
Yes. So the only.
So thank you, soccer players.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Turf
go
is
do that at
horrible.
MetLife. Goodness sake.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. The ghost of MetLife.
So Becca, what did you think of the game?
I thought, the first half, I agree with Matt's assessment I was like a little touch and go and thinking, oh, here we go again. We're just playing some, up and down a little bit. And then, we hit that second half and hit our stride and, everything just seemed to fall into place. We were moving the ball well, whether it was running, whether it was passing, even special teams seems to hold it together this week. So, to me, it was a complete game, and they really did a great job, all the way around. And initially my first thing was somehow we have to stop Cooper Kupp. And the first half, we didn't do a good job of that, but somehow in the second half, they made those adjustments and stopped playing him in some, whatever zone coverage and shut him down and really made him a non-issue. And when you take away the only weapon they have, they can't run the ball. So we stopped the run, very well, even in the first half, but we were just leaving him wide open and they were taking advantage. So, to see that turn around in the second half and to have that all come together, I thought it was great. I was like, maybe, this boost of McCaffrey is exactly what we need. And when we get Debo back, that's going to be special. That's going to be fun to watch because then they're not going to know what to do, who to cover, how to really play all of those weapons.
Yep.
Absolutely. How do you think we'll finish in the NFC West?
How do I think we'll finish? I think we're going to finish on top.
Yeah, we're taking the NFC West for
We're
sure.
taking the West. Yeah, we're going to take that. Absolutely.
We're winning the division.
Yep.
I think we may lose the Seahawks game just because it's Seattle in Seattle. We know we can't get any calls from the refs. and weird things happen up there.
Yeah, they are on a bit of a high too. That's a weird little piece of magic they got going on that's overinflated for some reason, and maybe we're the one that pops the balloon. I don't know. Burst the bubble.
Oh yeah, I think we can definitely beat them if we play our game.
Yeah.
But if like the refs make calls, and which we'll touch on later, and if we do our thing, we'll be okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a great because how many times did the clock go a click past zero? Twice in the game. I didn't rewatch it yet, so I know at least twice. Once it was a definite. Twice was probably, and there was a third that was questionable to me. I was like, really, here we go again with this clock. How come they can just magically have all the time in the world? And if we got that down to 0, out would be the flag. You know? Like what Kyle burned 2 timeouts for that, I think, in the game, saving us from the clock. So, you know, that's still just always something that burns me, burns my biscuits, if you will, for sure. But yeah, another one.
Well, I was looking too, like, I know, you know, like the Rams really got down to 0 a couple times, but they, you know, they have the same thing. Cause I remember you brought that up last week about the, you know, the clock. So I'm like, you know, let me pay attention here. And it was like, you know, the Rams were doing the same thing. So I'm like, well, at least we're not the only ones.
Yeah,
but they didn't get called for it. They got 2 plays off, and we got down to 0. It was lucky Kyle, you know, used the timeouts. They didn't even do that. They just played the ball, and away it went. I was like, "Where's the flag? Where's the flag?" You know, looking for the flag to come out, and that didn't happen. You know, same thing happened in the playoff game last year. You know, there's lots of videos and pictures of the clock being at 0 and they're still set at the line. They haven't even, you know, snapped the ball and it's at 0. So I don't know. I saw that again this week and it really, you know, gets in my crawl just a little bit. Yeah.
I think we win in Seattle and we split with the Cardinals.
I can see that. I can see that. That's actually like my real gut feeling.
Yeah.
We'll beat Seattle and split with the Cardinals just because it's the stupid Cardinals. Kyler Murray will scramble around and just heave a ball.
Squirrel's going to do his thing.
You got to be kidding me.
Yep.
You know? So, yeah, it'll be one of those games.
Yeah.
I would think that, but they're going to be playing in Mexico City. So I actually have Seattle as the only loss remaining for the rest of the year. I think they finished 12-5. They may finish 11-6 if they don't need to win the last game.
Yep.
Because they may not need to win the last game. So you may be right. They may split with Arizona, but I think they lose in Seattle. And I'm sure it'll be over something stupid because that's just what I expect.
Something stupid. Yeah.
I have them right now, just to give you a little sneak preview on them. I have them finishing as the 3rd seed at 12-5.
And taking the NFC West?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Becca, you mentioned Jimmy G.
Did I?
You did. How he was, you know, connecting on his passes and everything. And then in a text message, you had said that, you know, he did great.
I thought he did play well.
Ty?
It's almost like they gave him what he needed or something.
Was it well or was it great?
It was great. She said that he did great.
He did play great, you know. For Jimmy, I mean, he's not elite level quarterback, but for Jimmy, he played a great game.
Okay, see, there you go. There's a caveat right there.
So there we go. We'll give
For
Jimmy.
him,
look, we know Jimmy. We know his ceiling and his floor, and when he's above the water line, we'll call it a great game.
And he's not drowning.
Exactly.
And pulling the team down with it, and the boat is listing and taking on water, watching the Titanic sink in the whole second half. It's a great game from Jimmy.
It's almost like if you give him a little bit of time, and if you know you're not going to be able to give him a lot of time, you give him some quick outlets that he can just throw, and those people can do these miraculous things with the ball afterwards, that it makes him look much better, and it helps the offense flow a lot better, right? Just having that there. And I'm telling you, when there were times and there were a few snaps where Wilson and McCaffrey were on the field at the same time. Yeah. And that is such a dynamic thing. And you're going to be able to have that same thing with Juszczyk. You're going to be able to have that same thing with you're going to be able to have that same thing when Debo comes back. Mm-hmm. But you're also going to be able to have the same thing with Mitchell, right? Like you can put him and Mitchell in the backfield at the same time, and you can flank him out into the slot almost, right? Like there were guys that always thought that McCaffrey was going to be a slot receiver. So now he kind of can be at times if you really want to. So they can kind of reverse osmose what they did last year with Deebo Samuel, right?
Yeah.
And you can do that with Christian McCaffrey and utilize him in so many different ways. But all it's going to do is allow Jimmy Garoppolo to know, in case of emergency, where the glass is to break. If I'm on the left side of the field, it's going to be over here. If I'm on the right side of the field, it's going to be over here. But there's going to be somebody skilled and able to catch the ball at any point in time if he needs to get away from it. And he's not going to have to chuck it downfield. He's not going to have to throw it 15 yards down the plane. So
my boy Aaron
this is
in house.
huge. Yeah. So huge. We're keeping it simple, stupid, right? Like that's it. It's the KISS philosophy. Keep it simple.
Right.
Move the chains. Get them going.
Swiss Army knife of weapons now to choose from. Literally.
They were finally able to pour it on guys, right? Yeah. Like when it gets to 23-14, you're like, oh boy. I hope they're doing the right things. Like we're excited, but we're still like, yeah, right? Can we really get it to like if the key is it at a 3-score game, right? Is it at a 3-score game at a certain point in time? And then once it got to that point, that was it. We were able to tack it on at the end, and that to me was the difference. So whoever burned the sage, thank you very much.
I was just going to say,
did you take some with you?
Should have.
We talked about it last week. So whatever everyone did last week, let's do it again. Whether you burned sage, cleaned your crystals, I shook the candlestick dirt. We'll do all the same things over.
Whatever it is, man.
Keep it going.
Whatever it is. We'll save it for next week though. This week we can just do nothing. Although we should do something small just to make sure nobody like slips in the shower or something stupid, right? You know, like
throw a little salt on the shoulder.
No numbness. Right, yeah. You know.
I think everybody should
probably
be
cut
staying
my hair
home.
or something. Yeah, please. Rest. Stay home and rest.
I'm not staying home though.
Let me touch on the game real quick. Okay. We gotta start off with James Arthur, my guy, my birthday brother. You know. I'm tough on him, but I'm realistic on him. You know, like I heard talk all week that he was great. He was exceptional. He was throwing dimes, you know, this high magnitude of praise.
He was throwing dimes, though.
He played well, but the dimes he threw were 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, you know.
I mean, didn't he have the one?
The touchdown to George Kittle?
I appreciate that.
That touchdown to George Kittle was gorgeous.
The touchdown to Kittle was a dime. That was a great
touchdown to McCaffrey was a dime too.
He threw that touchdown to McCaffrey was a medicine ball, and y'all know it. McCaffrey slide in the air.
No. That was what that was very simple. Only one person is going to catch that. It's McCaffrey or nobody. That's what that was.
I get that.
And that to me, I call that a Dwight Clarker, right? Like that at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I didn't have to jump
on. I could see that.
McCaffrey's not a tall dude for a jump ball, though.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, he got it though, right?
He did.
Good throw. I'm not going to call it great. It was a good throw. And it was a great quarterback, just football play. And that's when Jimmy is at his best, really. It's when he's at his just playing ball. So just go play ball.
Would you say that Jimmy's top game as a 49er, like the scale, if we were doing like a 1 to 10 scale, right? Would you say the New Orleans game was his highest?
Yes.
In 2019?
Oh, yes. I was at that game. That was crazy. That was good.
The Rams game, I think this was one of his best games besides that game.
He had a game against Arizona.
He did.
Lit them up.
Yeah.
He was on fire that game. And that was Jimmy balling.
Did he throw dimes in that game?
He threw dimes in that game.
He did. Okay.
He didn't throw nickels.
It wasn't no nickels. He threw dimes.
Yeah. Jacksonville 2017.
Better late than never.
Yeah, you know.
That is a hot take right there.
But Aaron is true though. He did his job. We didn't ask him to do much. You know,
right.
I love him airing it out that first drive. The ball was thrown a little late and behind, but still he took the shot. It was.
He threw pennies.
It was the same. It was the same throw as in the Atlanta game when he got Ayuk.
Pennies from heaven.
If he just leads them a little bit, that's a walking touchdown. But and go look at the replay.
No, I can. Yeah, I know what you're talking
What's
about.
his face had to kind of turn around, do a 180 to try to catch it, But other than that, he was on point. He was, hitting the check down man. It was great. His footwork was phenomenal this game. He gets an A+ there.
Tap dancing?
He wasn't tap dancing. He was actually using his feet, moving well in the pocket.
Yeah, I did notice that.
It was
happy
phenomenal.
feet.
If you go back,
He didn't have people at his legs.
He was a lot flat-footed, just kind of throwing flat-footed. It's weird. His footwork was great. He wasn't doing that this game. So he played a darn good game. Was it great? No, but it was darn good. I give him kudos for things.
So, Ty, I have a question for you, though. I actually have two questions.
Yeah.
So they always say that, when you're the quarterback, you throw up, if you trust your receiver, you throw the ball and you let the receiver make the play.
Yeah.
So the fact that you had said, okay, he's turning around, just he's throwing it behind, whatever. Can't that be that the receivers may, he's throwing it and the receiver's making the play on it?
I get that. And you're right. However, how many times do we have to sit back and be like, the receiver should make that play? Like when there's open field right in front of you. Okay, Tennessee last year, Kyle Juszczyk is standing all alone.
That play.
Kyle Juszczyk's got to make a play on the ball.
Well, to be fair, I see that. But my thing is that if the ball hits the receiver in their hands, and they drop it, that's on the receiver. Whether it's off the fingertips, whether it's, it hits directly in the palm of the hand and it's out, that's on the receiver. In my opinion.
Are they standing upright or are they laid out sideways trying to dive and make
standing upright?
Because how many times has Jimmy done that? I mean, look, that one touchdown, was it this week or last week? Ayuk literally had to dive down to get that ball to make that an actual touchdown. It wasn't like it hit him in stride. So, that's
I think he was also getting hit though, wasn't he? So he had to do
something. No, I don't think so. I think he was all by himself. But he had to really go after it, kind of lay out and get it. But, Jimmy has a habit of that too, where he puts it in almost impossible places. So sometimes I feel like the receivers have a little chance to get the ball and, they're doing acrobatics to get down and up and around and wherever he's chucking it to come back and make a play on the ball. So
yeah, and that's just kind of my point is with the Ray McCloud deep throw. Like he's streaking, he's open, he's got to, slow down, do a 180, then try to catch it. At that point, the defenders have caught up to him. It's like, okay, the receivers have to help out the QB, but the QB can help out the receivers also. Just to be a little bit more accurate. Just at least put it out to them a little bit. Don't make them do a 180. Not everyone is Calvin Johnson. Not everyone is, Larry Fitzgerald, where they could just literally go up and get it no matter where you put it. Sometimes you got to help your little 5'8" kick returning receiver out. Like he did, but he did that in Atlanta. That throw in Atlanta was amazing, and McCloud dropped it. Yeah. So they're even now. They're even now. A clean slate. Now they can, just go out and play catch to each other.
49ers first takes. If Jimmy stays as is, we have a chance to go on a run. Yes, we do.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. If he can be consistent, and I feel like he can be, because with Christian McCaffrey, everybody coming back, it's just it's there. Like no more injuries. Like we're good to go. This should be like a really good sign. Like I'm feeling really good about it. You can't help but think like this is Jimmy. But Ty, my second question for you was, what does Jimmy have to do to have an awesome game?
What does he have to do? No, he can have an awesome game. You know, I think he's got to like hit on those deep shots. He's got to continue to use his legs. I would like to see him get out of the pocket and scramble a bit because the guy can move. You know, he's not, you know, Lamar Jackson, but he can move. You know,
he did sit behind Tom Brady. So, I mean,
Jimmy Garoppolo is the greatest quarterback sneaker of all time. I mean, you know, who else can you put back there and get 2 and 3 yards on a QB sneak in the middle of the field? That's Jimmy G. Only he can do that. The greatest QB sneaker of all time.
Oh my God.
You know? Watch Joe. Hey,
there you
all
go.
Right. We praise Joe.
Yes.
Bow down to Joe.
Bill Walsh used to talk about Joe Montana's footwork like some people talk about like Thanksgiving dinner, right? Like it was just the greatest thing that you could have possibly had, right? Like he very often, and that was the difference between him and a lot of guys. And he didn't have John Elway's arm, and he didn't have his athleticism, but he still moved the chains, and he was very accurate. So he had a very long career, was able to do some really good things. So footwork is so key. And Ty, you noticed it right off the bat. His footwork was really good this week. Yeah. When his footwork is good, things are great. And I really, really, truly think, though, that there's a lot of fail safes in this offense now. And maybe they've realized, like, hey, you know, we've got Jimmy for the rest of this time. We've got to make sure that it's almost like the exact opposite of what the Packers did, right? Think about this. Packers re-sign Aaron Rodgers, this big deal, even after they've got this Jordan Love guy. So if you've got this Aaron Rodgers guy, don't you want to maximize your window with him and go trade for somebody to help this receiving core that's not getting it? So they go out and do nothing. The 49ers, on the other hand, understand that, hey, you know, we've watched this movie with Jimmy so far, right? So in episode 1, you know, in this case, we'll call it the Phantom Menace, when we lost to the Chiefs. You know what happened there? They traded for Emmanuel Sanders. He wasn't quite fast enough to catch that pass. I've heard from multiple people in multiple areas that have blamed the receiver and the quarterback on that play. We'll never know, right? But at the end of the day, if that connection is made, we're good to go, right? 2021, the one thing that I'm going to tell you about 2021, we have to remember, and we'll always have to remember, he was playing with half of a right arm, right? His shoulder was done from the Tennessee game moving forward.
Yeah.
So really shouldn't have been playing during that point, but at that time, they didn't trust Trey Lance long enough in clutch games like that. And also, his finger was broken, so he couldn't do the things that he was supposed to do either. So they went with Jimmy and basically rode him all the way until the end, and then they wore out in the game against the Rams. So kind of one of those deals where they're like, all right, this is what happened here. This is what happened here. Where do we need to reinforce it? And I think watching the struggles on third down and watching the way the struggles on third down spills over to this defense and wears them out so that late in games they're tired, so that they're allowing touchdown drives to, you know, so that they're allowing drives to teams like Denver, right? You know, and teams like that. Like, ugh, they don't want that. Like, they don't want to. Do you think they want to let up in the second half against the Bears? Like, no, I don't think they did. I don't think they wanted to give up however many points they give up in the fourth quarter to Kansas City last week either. That's not the type of defense this is. This is a dominant, I'm going to kick your ass defense. And they've gotten their ass kicked a few times this year. And a lot of times it's been in the fourth quarter, and they haven't been able to clutch it down and finish out the game. And it's because they've had to pick up the slack of the offense so many times. So for the offense this week to help turn those tables, get those third down percentages, and utilize this weapon correctly, huge. And it adds so much to this offense, and I'm so excited moving forward. And things seem to be going in the right direction. I'm almost disturbed at how optimistic I actually am.
Yeah, I am too. And I agree with you. The Packers, I don't know what the hell they were thinking.
Right.
Let's just pay all this money to one guy.
Why did you even bother?
We're not going to build the rest of the roster. Terrible.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I don't even see them making the playoffs at this point. Like, there's
No.
I don't
nothing.
either.
I don't. I have it the way I have it set up right now. I think Tampa ends up figuring it out just because the rest of the NFC is not that good. Like, I mean, to not. I think Atlanta's probably going to end up winning the South, just the way their schedule shakes out. I think you're going to go Philly.
Wait, hold on. Before we get to that, I just want to say one last thing about Jimmy G.
Yes.
Oh, wait, let me answer your question directly. Sorry.
Oh.
Okay,
Go
what
ahead.
does he have to do? Okay, one, stay good, Jimmy. Right?
Not James Arthur, Jimmy.
Not James Arthur. Stay good, Jimmy. Don't make the bonehead mistakes. Right? We all know those bonehead mistakes, and you're like, what are you think? What were you thinking there? Why? And he almost did it in the Rams game. That first almost interception that was right in the middle of the field. With three guys there. What were you thinking? Thank God Jalen Ramsey cannot catch. Okay? Right?
The only thing he knows how to do is run his mouth. Go ahead.
His mouth.
Yeah, right. Him and Robbie Gould.
Yeah.
Side note, I find it real funny that he's, joined with our kicker, but doesn't say anything to Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuels, or Jawan Jennings. But I digress. Okay, 2, Jimmy, don't get happy feet. Remain patient and let those plays develop. Like the play to Dwelly, that was one where he used his feet. He didn't get happy. He saw the defense jump. Bam, had the wide open man downfield. And we've seen that play numerous times this season where he got happy feet, quick to get rid of the ball. Meanwhile, a guy was streaking downfield wide open.
I was nervous about that play to Dwelly.
You thought he was going to drop it?
Yep.
Underthrown or something. Yeah, I was like, ooh, please.
Yeah.
And
I was like in front of the TV, like,
yes.
Yeah.
So just do those basic things. That's it. That's all he's got to do. Just stay consistent too. Don't
That's
fall off the cliff. We want to see, and that's been the biggest knock on him his career. He's just been a little inconsistent at times. 1 week he's like, "Ooh, we got something." Next week you're like, "Oh, why did he throw those 2 picks? What was he looking at?"
And you know what, too? Like, as far as him being consistent, I'm going to agree with George Kittle on this. He had said, like, he kind of wishes that we weren't going into the bye week because as far, just like on a good note and, the consistency, right, the momentum, but it is what it is. But hopefully they stay consistent. But the thing that I wanted to say on Jimmy is that he actually went through more of his reads on Sunday.
Yeah. That was a part of staying patient with the play and not panicking. And, I got to get rid of it and just chuck it to someone in harm's way.
Like when they did the replay, it was like you saw his eyes go from 1, 2, 3, and so I thought that was good too.
Dude played a good game. I if I was to grade him, B+.
Who are you grading?
If I was to grade like Jimmy Garoppolo, everybody's like, "How would you grade?" If I was to grade him, I'd say he got a B+.
Okay.
Is tie breaking up for everyone else too? Or just
I think so. I think your audio was kind of.
I think your audio is getting
Am I
loose there. You're good now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good now.
Yeah. I was saying, if I was to grade him, he would get a B+, and because he played a very good game, and part of that was just using his feet, going through his reads, moving in the pocket, those little things. He did very well.
All right, cool. Maddie, go ahead.
So I'm thinking probably NFC. I'm looking at Philly, probably 16-1, 15-2. They got a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way, guys. Like, it's kind of scary. You get Minnesota 13-4 looking like. I think this Hawkinson deal is a big deal for them, but I don't think he's going to be a big difference maker. I think it's going to overshoot their expectations, and I think they're going to then do Vikings things. But I still see them getting that second seed just because of the way their schedule shakes out. You get a lot of really not good teams this year, guys. A lot of them.
Yeah.
And they're circulating around the league, and a lot of the teams that are in playoff contention end up playing a lot of these not that great teams the rest of the year. Yeah. I have San Francisco going 12-5, finishing third. I have Atlanta finishing 10-7 and winning the South. I also have Tampa Bay finishing 10-7 and finishing as the 7th seed. So that could flip-flop based on a tiebreaker or however anything goes. Dallas at 5 and the Giants at 6.
I was just going to say, I hope you don't have the Giants in there.
No, I have the Giants have one of the easier schedules the rest of the way as well.
But I don't know. They're going to flake out. They
overinflated, and they're going to start to sink a little.
Well, you realize the way I've got this all calculated out, and I did everything just basically back to back. I just went and added everybody's record from now. In the wild card round, I have Tampa Bay defeating Minnesota, San Francisco beating the Giants in a home game at Levi's. Think about that for a second. Home game at Levi's against the Giants.
So going to that.
Of 81, right? Oh, yeah, 100%. And Dallas would defeat Atlanta. And then the next round, I have Philly defeating Tampa because, well, if anybody's going to end Tampa Bay's career, you know it's going to be Philly, right? Yep. And then San Francisco defeating Dallas at Levi's. So that would be like back-to-back weeks of just like
might have to stay out there.
Glory days.
Right. And then the NFC title game would be, of course, the 49ers would have to go to Philadelphia and beat the Eagles there. So that's what we have on the NFC side. We can talk about the AFC side later, but
wow, that's like a whole playoff of games that I can actually attend. Like this is great.
It really shapes up like that because other than Washington's kind of the X factor in this. If they somehow figure it out, finish 9-8 or whatever, something could happen here. But Seattle's schedule gets a lot harder coming up. So we're going to learn a lot about them. Like, do they really have it in them to kind of go to that next level, or are they fool's gold right now? I still kind of think they're fool's gold because I don't think they have enough depth to continue doing what they're doing. Just how's it go, right? And yes, Brian, that's exactly what we go for here. I yell and get mad, but I don't yell and get mad at them. I yell
talk about burning sage and everything. Right,
you know, your crystal.
Yes,
some glow lights going on. Look at
momentum, emotions, all of it. Right, Mercury in retrograde. You might never know. It could be any sort of deal.
We'll shake the
Brian. Thank you for your support. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
But that's kind of what I'm seeing here. But when you look at it, Washington is kind of the drop-off point. Everybody else after that really just seems like they're fighting for a draft pick. Yeah. Just really at the end of the day. And I'm really surprised that Atlanta's even in it because I thought Atlanta was going to be a lot worse than they are, but Arthur Smith's a really good football coach. So even though I don't understand what he's doing with some of his talent, like he's got 2 really good receivers and they want to run the ball all the time, but they're winning. So why are you drafting these players that you want to throw with if you just want to run all the time? It seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah.
That seems like you don't see that with our team, right? You don't see Lynch and Shanahan doing that sort of vibe, right? Like they're on the same page. That one just doesn't seem like it makes sense to me. Like we're going to draft Kyle Pitts, we're going to draft Drake London, and we're going to run the ball all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't get it, but it's going to work for them because that division is horrific and the Saints are snake bitten for some reason. So, but I think Dallas finishes second in the division, and I think the Giants have a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way too. Like they don't have a lot of tough road trips. Like they got most of their tough road trips out of the way. If Washington doesn't like get hot, like I'm thinking those are your 7 teams.
Okay. I like it. Okay.
Yep.
Every Wednesday night, 8:30.
Yep. Right.
Yes.
8:30.
Bam, right here.
Playing back time. Playing back channel.
All right. So, what did you guys think of Kyle's play calling?
I loved it.
I mean, I always think Kyle dials up decent games.
Yeah.
I just don't always think we have the right players to execute it. Sometimes, we're either injured or, Jimmy can't throw the play the right way. He doesn't read the field the right way. So I don't know.
What do you mean? Kyle's the quarterback. Kyle's the running back. Kyle's the receiver.
Yeah,
Come on now.
Blocking. He's doing everything.
Kyle's the fullback. Offensive line.
Well, he is. It's just a different last name. But yeah, I think Kyle always dials up a good game. It's just sometimes the execution where it falls apart.
Well, I mean, you're also looking at that offensive line. Look at the consistency on the offensive line for the last couple of weeks. I don't think there's any sort of coincidence whatsoever that Trent Williams was a lot healthier this week, right? And then the rest of that offensive line, which had been surviving without him, now all of a sudden gets that little reinforcement. Now Daniel Brunskill can just focus on cowboying up on Aaron Donald, if you will. And Spencer Burford can focus on his job, right? So, and he can continue the long line of good number 74s in 49er history. So at this point, like it looks like that offensive line is going to be okay. Would I like to see a little upgrade at the center position? Sure. But for now, we'll just, we'll do our thing and go from there. But I think there's some good chemistry there and some good depth, and a lot of guys have gotten some good experience. And boy, I guess we can't bash Aaron Banks anymore because he seems like he's actually doing okay out there.
Doing phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like even I had retweeted something earlier about like his footwork, blocking Aaron Donald. And it's just like, it's amazing. He's really doing a great job out there.
100%. Just like I said, adding that, oh no, everything's going to hell. Throw it up to Christian. He'll be out there. It's within 3 yards, right?
Yeah.
It helps. It's going to help mentally. It helps everybody mentally. You could tell that offense had a little more confidence in the second half last week. Like they weren't. It was a different vibe. The whole thing was a different vibe. I want to know what happened in that locker room, like at halftime last week. Like really, what that speech was.
Well, speaking of the locker room and going over to Ty, do you have something to say?
No, I was going to say, I don't see a big difference from the first half and the second half, other than we didn't get bogged down on third down. Like in the first half, we had like 3 drives, because they had those insanely long drives. They ate up a lot of clock. We moved the ball. We just got bogged down. But once we started out, with the ball first and was able to control the clock and set tempo, the offense just clicked. It just clicked more,
I just think that we had more of like a fire under our butts in the second half.
Yeah.
Than the first half. I mean, you got like my opinion, like you can tell the difference, like it was almost like they got, chewed out in, halftime in the locker room.
It was like that spot
so.
in Rocky where you get punched in the mouth, right? And you're like, oh, I got punched in the mouth.
I don't like that.
and that's what it was. And that CMC pass was a shot of adrenaline too. Like just the fact that anytime this team needs a shot of adrenaline, they can go to the halfback pass from literally friggin' anybody, right? Like. Could be Debo. I mean, Ayuk might be next. I could see them doing it with Kittle. I see Kittle, like when he warms up on the sidelines, he can throw some pretty tight spirals out there. I could see him throwing one deep at some point. Like at some point, everybody's going to want their touchdown pass.
That's true.
I think that's what it's going to boil down to. Everybody's going to want their sticker on their helmet for their touchdown pass. So it's just a matter of who's going to get it next and how they're going to create it. So
and you get a sticker.
And you get a sticker. So
here's a gold star for your chart.
The other thing that I really liked this week too was the defense itself, like the lack of breakdowns this week. Outside of the Higbee drop, which was blessed. We should send a gift basket to Tyler Higbee. Does Tyler Higbee have like a family charity or something? Like we should seriously do something. We should send like a $49 something or other to the Tyler Higbee Foundation or something.
For
that drop. And just be like, listen, sorry that happened, but thank you.
Thanks.
So because that changed the entire complexion of everything after that point. Because other than that, there wasn't a single anything in that second half for the Rams to do. It was impressive. It was really, really impressive. And I don't think it wasn't that they didn't want it. They couldn't take it.
Yeah. They couldn't take it. That was after the McCaffrey touchdown. and you saw Jalen Ramsey yelling at his teammate on the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came back, and they actually ran that Higbee play earlier in the game and hit it for some yards. They tried it again, and sure enough, the drop. Like, they didn't win.
It wasn't a perfect pass either, by the way.
It wasn't.
Like that.
No, it wasn't.
And when
It was
and
low.
to me, if you're throwing to a tight end, you really need to like. Bill Walsh used to be a big stickler on that. Like he'd make Young and Montana throw again and again and again.
Do it over.
Again.
Yep. You say do it
and
over.
Like and do it over, and Holmgren would get pissed at him about it. Like, what are you doing? But and the quarterbacks get mad about it. But he's like, no, you need it.
Yep.
Here, right? Like
placement.
that's where we want it. And Ty was mentioned that earlier, and it's so key. So like, yeah, and we see it all the time with Jimmy. Like sometimes there's definitely some hospital walls, but you know he's fully healthy. He's kind of. We also need to remember too. He did not have a preseason. He did not have an off season. So he's 2, 3, 4. Like we're at the halfway point. So he's 6 weeks in. He just got his mini camp, his training camp, his preseason, and his early season work. Right. So for him, it's kind of like week 2, really, like in a weird sort of way, like because he's coming off a rehab. Like that's another thing too. Like he was on his own road to get here, right? He wasn't with this team. Like he was with this team, but he wasn't with this team. He's like a wrestler coming back from a sabbatical almost. You know what I mean? Like he was like Triple H. He was like Triple H coming back to MSG, like back in the early 2000s. Like that's what it was like. But he was off doing his rehab and doing his own thing. So for him to get caught up to this point, and then now he's going to integrate somebody else into it. But McCaffrey has done such a good job of just fitting in, right? It's good stuff. And I'm sure there's a lot of things from this system that he's going to remember from Stanford, because I'm sure a lot of the things from Stanford have been there for a lot of time, because it seems like Bill Walsh left a lot of stuff behind in the Bay Area for football and things and terms and knowledge and stuff.
Christian McCaffrey was born to play in the Shanahan system. It should be in
100%.
his DNA.
Agreed.
Seriously. His dad played with Kyle's dad, running the system. Like, you talk about someone tailor-made for this, it's him. So it doesn't even surprise me that, you know, he has picked everything up. There was no limitations in only 9 days, 10 days.
Just like he says, CMC makes everyone better.
Yep.
He's a people riser, right?
Yeah.
You want guys that are going to come in here and help raise the bar, right?
Yeah.
That guy that's going to make Debo a little bit better. He's going to make Kittle a little bit. Look at how much better Kittle's been the last 2 weeks. After weeks of like, why can't we get Kittle the ball? All of a sudden now, like, and then they tried to force feed it to him in the Carolina game, and he popped it up into the air like a wet soap bar. Like since then, things have opened up, and when you see McCaffrey and Kittle on the same side of the field doing things, when you're the defense, like who are you guarding? Is one of them going to block? Are they both going out for this pass? Did we catch your wide receiver? Like there's so many different variations, and this Death Star is not even fully operational yet. You know, there's no Debo hasn't been on the field at the same time, like with a full playbook. Like, damn.
But you know,
damn.
Like we fans forget how good Christian McCaffrey is. Because he was buried in crappy Carolina. But he is a Pro Bowl player. He is an all-pro player. One of the best in the league. He was just buried in crappy Carolina. Now he comes here with a mastermind play caller and tons of other weapons around him. It's like, wow, sky's the limit.
Yep.
And the respect of this defense, who learned, like, I'm sure you guys read the article that, you know, they were the ones that after the Carolina game were like, yo, you really need to get this guy. He's still good. He's still got it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
you saw what he did.
He was tough. We as normal, like if you're a fantasy footballer, you're like, oh, McCaffrey didn't have 100 yards that day or whatever, but like he still got a touchdown. He had 54 yards rushing, and he had a lot of catches that day. He had a lot of production.
Yeah.
And that Carolina offense doesn't have much production at all. So for him to basically like have all of it for them basically, and to run the entire offense through him, when you know the offense is going to run through him, and for him to still produce in any sort of manner, even with the quarterback that they were playing at the time and everything else that was going on there at the time with the college head coach. But that to me tells you all you need to know. To me, that's like grabbing Russ Francis from retirement after he left the Patriots, right? Or plucking Roger Craig out of Nebraska where he was playing fullback and bringing up here to play fullback for Wendell Tyler. But he kind of revolutionized the fullback position because he decided to catch it and run it out of that. Yeah. So it's just more of the same, man. Like the history comes back and it kind of repeats itself a little bit. But, you know, the next thing we just need is that extra pass rusher off the other side. We get that and all bets are off.
And speaking of the defense, how about DeMeco Ryans' halftime adjustments?
Yeah.
And, you know, what I noticed was Fred Warner flying around the field like a missile.
Yep. Fred stepped up. Yeah. With the absence of Greenlaw, he stepped up. He knew he had to make plays, and he did it. That's all pro Fred, you know? And kudos to that defense. Because in the first half, they was burning us with those quick screens. That's all they were doing. It was talk about non-spectacular quarterback play. Matthew Stafford was throwing negative 2-yard screen passes, and this guys were just going upfield.
Yeah.
DeMeco shut that down. It was great adjustment on his part, and the players stepped up. Deommodore Lenoir locked down his side of the field. If you notice, they didn't throw much his way. And I thought when they got down to the goal line for their second touchdown, I thought they was going to pick on him because they were leaving him singled up over there. And he only got one pass thrown his way, which he denied. But he played a good game as well. So it definitely hats off to the defense in what they did in that second half because it was shut down city. Rams couldn't do anything.
Yeah, and I like the way they did to Cooper Kupp too. Like they really made him a non-factor. I think what he had one target, maybe two, the whole second half, and not for a lot. So the adjustments at halftime really took away the only cupboard that they kept, you know, could go to and made that a non-issue for us. So I thought the defense really, really did well in the second half.
And then
one of the things with
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say one of the things with Kupp that he had one of his bigger plays. It wasn't even a defensive back on him. It was Oren Burks who ended up on him in some sort of defensive shenanigan deal. Kind of reminds you of Tony Tolbert having to cover Jerry Rice back in '95 against the Cowboys. Like, you know how that's going to go one-on-one, right? So, like, Oren Burks did what he can do, but, like, what are you going to do? And they do a really good job of getting Kupp out there. So for them to switch that up, it's kind of like I said, that's why I want to know what went on in the second half. It wasn't just the offense. It was the defense. It was the whole – there's a different sort of energy that came out in that second half. Like, I don't know. I assume eventually when the book is written on this team's season – we're going to hear about something that happened during halftime of this game, but they didn't look listless and they didn't look bad in the first half by any means, but it just looked like more of the same, right? It looked like it was going to be another close game. Oh, crap. How's this one going to go again, right? Are we going to sneak this one out or not? And that's really what it felt like. And then instead, in the second half, they came out just full ass kicker mode. And did everything. They utilized the running back exactly how we hoped they would, and it went exactly how we hoped it would go, right? Boom. That's it. Like that, and it was just that simple. And what DeMeco Ryans did for adjustments is he went from exotic blitzes to simple blitzes. And as you mentioned, Jess, he let Fred Warner cook, right? He just let him go and follow your spidey senses, Peter Parker, and go where you think the ball is going to be. And that's what he did.
Yeah. We got Jersey in the house. What's up, Willie? Jersey.
East Coast forever.
That's right.
Awesome. All right. So you guys have anything left you want to talk about for the about the game?
No.
All right.
I don't think we can hash that much more. It was a great win, but like it was last week, so
yeah, it was a great win, that's for sure, and I hope we build on that. And like I said earlier, we got reinforcements coming in.
Yep.
But I know I always say that it is about the logo on the helmet and not about the individual player.
Yeah.
However, we all have our favorite players. So we're going to switch to the segment of the player fan. And we're just going to go around and talk about our favorite player. Ty, you want to go first, birthday boy?
Certainly, I will.
Go ahead.
My favorite player on this team for the past 8 years now, has been Arik Armstead. Didn't know much about him coming out of Oregon. And, you know, of course, on draft night, you look a guy up and do this and that. And, you know, you find out as much as you could and find out he's a cool guy. Okay, great. And I just loved his play. I thought he just played hard. He was, you know, just a guy that got in there and grinded and competed. And I loved what he did. He did a lot of the dirty stuff that you don't see on the stat sheet early on, but he made an impact, just, you know, pushing the pocket and getting pressure and things of that nature. And then, you know, during that rookie year, week 5, 49ers were coming to New York to play the Giants. And I don't know if Beck and you guys went to that game. I was there.
Yeah.
So we were in the same building. Check that out. Way back in 2015. But 49ers were in town, and I was downtown on Saturday just walking around with my wife, and just happened to see this tall guy in the distance with a few people around him, and, you know, looking for pictures and blah, blah, blah. So as I walk closer, I'm like, 91, is that you? Totally broke the code of being cool when you meet a player, right? And you're supposed to like chill. But I saw on his face that he recognized that I recognized who he was. I knew who he was, which, you know, probably a lot of the other people there didn't. They just knew he was this tall guy. He must have been somebody, which happens in New York a lot. So he was very gracious. He stopped.
Oh, awesome.
Gave me a hand, talked to me for a little bit, you know. I told him, you know, hey, I don't want to hold you up. I just want you to know I appreciate what you do. I see you're out there grinding, and I think your future's bright, man. You got support from me, and I'm sure a lot of other fans. And he was like, cool, man, thank you. And he was nice enough to take this picture with me. And yeah, he's my guy. And, you know, as his career's going on, I've learned to appreciate him more as a person with the work he's done in his foundations. You know, the Arik Armstead Project, helping out the youth, which he does, making sure they don't need for anything academic-wise and such. And his 91-6 charity, where he has an academic youth project for both boys and girls. It's great. And we hear every year he goes to, you know, UC Davis, the Children's Hospital, and brings out gifts during Christmas, you know, for kids undergoing cancer treatments and things like that. I mean, the guy should be a perennial Walter Payton Man of the Year award nominee and recipient sometime soon. So he's my guy. It's Arik Armstead. There you go.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Awesome.
That's great. He has the charity for reading, right? He does all of the reading and goes and does that with kids all the time. Yep. Yeah, he has been our nominee a couple times, hasn't he? For
he has been nominated. Yeah, I don't think he's ever been a finalist.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's definitely, you know, nominated every year.
That's pretty cool. Yep. Good job, Ty.
Thank you.
All right, Becca, you want to take next?
Sure. I'm going to be a homer and go all the way back to Joe Montana. I mean, I have a lot of favorites through the years. I mean, I had a hard time actually picking, but I think when I really think about the essence of being a 49er fan and what started it all, and you know, I have a really sad childhood. I won't dive too deeply into the well, or you'll all be sending me a bill for therapy. But you know, I grew up in poverty in West Virginia, so I was this little kid, and for those of you who paid attention or heard us in the early episodes, I became a fan in elementary school with the boys who had a football club. I didn't even know what a first down was. They had a team. I picked the team. I picked the Niners. So yay me, but I had no idea about football. And I do remember watching the first Super Bowl and feeling lost and wanting to learn football. So, you know, fast forward, I told the story about getting to do a report on any subject we wanted. And I picked football, and I went and did this whole entire report on the fundamentals of football. Mm-hmm. But by then, like, everyone knew I was a huge Niner fan. I was the only one. I didn't have Niner gear. I didn't have any of that stuff because I didn't have, you know, we just didn't have it. There was no money for any of those things. But I, you know, I did finally get a shirt, and that was like the first cool thing I had. But everybody knew, like, I'm already like old there. I'm already like, that's way fast forward in the future. So I have nothing as a, you know, a young kid or a teenager. But, you know, for sure, like in high school, one of my nicknames was Montana. Everybody knew that I was just such a huge Niner fan. And, you know, like I was supposed to marry him and have his children. It was a toss-up between him and JFK Jr. I'm not going to lie, but nonetheless, it was a tight race. But, you know, I guess if I had to tell like favorite story or memory, gosh, I have a couple. I remember when Joe got hit by Jim Burt in the playoffs, and he went out with the concussion. And then it was the following year or 2 years later or something, we signed Jim Burt to play for the Niners. Mm-hmm. I wrote Eddie DeBartolo a letter. I did. I was so mad. How could you do this? Like, I was just out of my mind that he would bring this guy in who hurt Joe. And so that's how, you know, passionate and crazy I was about football and the Niners. And, you know, no one else was a Niner fan where I grew up. No one. I was it until they started winning Super Bowls. And then by the time, you know, we got to the third Super Bowl, I was in college and we were watching it at my roommate's house. And, you know, even there, I was like one of two people who were, you know, cheering for the Niners. But that was one of my, I guess, my favorite memories of all, because everybody else was looking for the Niners to lose. You know, they wanted Cincinnati to win. And, you know, we were watching it in the basement at my roommate's house. And they had that drop ceiling, you know, with the little squares. And so, you know, when Bill Ipps almost intercepted the pass to Jerry Rice, I almost lost it then. But, you know, Rice comes back with the touchdown, and then we're making that last drive all the way down. And when Joe hit John Taylor in the end zone with like 4 seconds left, I jumped up and went, yes! Like my finger open. I'm running around like a lunatic, jumping up and down. And meanwhile, blood is pouring down my hand. The mom is running over like, oh my God, you're bleeding. I'm like, stop it, Carol. My team just won.
You're stepping on my moment, Carol. Stop it.
I was like, no, Carol, I'm fine. I'm like holding my bloody finger in the shirt until the game was over. Just a complete lunatic. And like, that was just one of those memories that just stay with me forever. I remember feeling so panicked, and I was never panicked as a Niner fan, you know, because we always won. But having to make that drive all the way down and with 3 minutes left and almost ready to lose the Super Bowl, like, this can't be happening, you know. So anyway, those are just a few of my many, many, many Niner stories of old. But that's the first time I met him. I got to meet him at a signing, and you know, it was almost like a little bit sad because he wasn't as nice as I had hoped he would be. Yeah. He wasn't, you know, like, he's a little standoffish. Jerry was fun. Dwight stole my heart. Oh my God, Dwight Clark was the best. Even Roger Craig. I've met Roger a few times now, and he's just really sweet and wonderful. a bunch of the old guys are just, all great. All good stuff. I don't know. Did you put up the old picture that someone sent me?
Oh no, I didn't put that one up. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, because that's a really like a cool
next week.
logo.
Tune in.
What'd you say?
I said next week. Tune in. We'll put that up.
There you go. Yeah. So someone sent this really old photo they took outside a Candlestick of a very young Joe and Dwight. I mean, I could go get it off the wall and hold it up, but what Ty said, tune in next week. But yeah, they're really young. And this is my favorite of all. I saved all of my Sports Illustrated from my childhood, and this is what I finally got signed by him. It was my favorite Sports Illustrated ever in my entire life, and I love it. It's my guy. So
That's
there
awesome.
you go.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. Maddie, you're up.
I remember early when I first started watching them, there was one guy that was like just tearing it up on pass defense. And I remember the game, they ended up losing to the Giants, but I just remembered Fred Dean, and then he didn't end up coming back to play the next year. He was gone. He went to go, I think he finished his career in Washington. Yeah. But when I kind of was able to go back and kind of re-dip on all my 49ers history during all the time the world was closed down, I was able to go back and watch a lot of the Fred Dean stuff and read a lot of books. And the acquisition of Fred Dean from the San Diego Chargers was huge. And it was very similar to some of the deals that have been made in the past. And, Fred Dean to me was the guy who really started the Charles Haley position. And then you watch Willie McGinnis end up playing a similar position later on, because Dean was a guy that did not play in a 3-4 defense. He was only out there if they were playing in a 4-3 or if they were moving him to a nickel. Or they were playing a nickel. So they only brought him in for situational pass rushing downs. They traded for him in 1981. Of course, that was the first year they won the Super Bowl. And they traded, I think it was like a conditional first-round pick, depending on how he played, a second-round pick another year, which is less of what they were going to get. Reason he was leaving San Diego, very simply put, he was making $70,000 a year. He was a Pro Bowl player, and his brother was a truck driver, and his brother made $70,000 a year. So he said, if I'm a Pro Bowl football player, I'm not. So he held out. And the owner of the Chargers at the time was just not somebody that was going to do that. Like, they'd sign teams to long-term deals. It'd be long-term. This was before free agency and all that stuff. Or before free agency was really that big of a deal. So he finally forced his way out. Walsh and McVay went to DeBartolo, and DeBartolo said, go for it, man. Rock on. Do what you got to do. McVay did the deal. And in fact, I've actually got a couple of things here from Bill Walsh's book. I'm going to read a couple of very quick things here, a couple of quick passages on it. Because on both of them, it was really sort of that big sort of deal. Like, he was 1981, he was the guy that they were going to play the Cowboys in the regular season. And the year before, if you guys watched that Under Pressure thing with Joe Montana, the year before, the 49ers with Steve DeBerg at quarterback lost to the Cowboys 59-14 in Texas Stadium. It was so bad that Joe Montana even admitted in the Under Pressure documentary that he did not want to play in that game, and he actually hid behind Bill Walsh the entire game so that he didn't get pulled into it because he thought he was going to get killed. Right? So that's how bad the game was. So then the next year, they're hosting Dallas, and they had traded for Fred Dean about a week and a half before. And he said, Fred barely just got here. He barely knows the playbook, but he ended up playing the whole game. And part of it was, if I bring it up here, we'd acquired Fred Dean the Thursday before the Washington game, but couldn't get him on the field for that one. He was ready for the Cowboys, though, and he absolutely ruined them, sacking Danny White twice and forcing him to throw before he was ready on 7 other occasions. The Cowboys' offense never got untracked. With Dean coming on the left side and Dwayne Board on the right, we were too quick for their pass protectors. After the game, the Cowboys apologist said the real Cowboys didn't show up. That was the way they justified losses or upsets. I remember John Brody said in response, who are those guys out there in the white shirts? Was it some other team? But that's what Fred Dean did. He completely changed and flipped the table, and he made the 49ers from basically one of those finesse, like that year. Not only did they have Hacksaw Reynolds that they signed as a free agent, right? He'd been let go by the Rams. Not only did they draft Ronnie Lott, not only did they finally like Dwight Hicks out of the 172 different defensive backs they used out in the backwoods back in the days, Dwight Hicks was the only one that stuck, right? So it's Dwight Hicks and Ronnie Lott and Carlton Williamson, and they were just out there, and Eric Wright, and they were out there like they had changed the complete defense. They started 3 rookies on in the defensive backfield, but they still needed that other pass rusher. They went out, got Fred Dean. It changed everything. And of course, we saw what happened from there. They had that tough defense. They won their first Super Bowl that year. They had to rebound, but he was also a big part of the 84 team. 11 games in 1981. He only played 11 games with them. He was still the defensive player of the year. Take it easy, Brian. 11 games, 12 sacks, Brian. And he had one in the playoffs. I mean, that's a big deal. Like he was 11. That would be like Christian McCaffrey coming over here and winning Offensive Player of the Year because he plays, so many games for a partial season for the 49ers. Like it was a huge impact. And you have a guy like that on the opposite side in Nick Bosa, who's stopping this defense, right? Like that perfect. D Ford was supposed to be that guy, right? Like it was supposed to go Fred Dean, then Charles Haley was going to be the guy right after him, and he was until he left. And then they had they tried to use Tim Harris. They tried some other guys in there and they did other things. And of course, you had your Aldon Smiths and your Justin Smiths. You've had all sorts of different guys that have come in through and been really good pass rushers over the years, but Fred Dean was the one that really changed it and allowed this team and this dynasty to start to get on track. And I don't think if they acquire him, I don't think they win in 1981. And it'd be great to see a player like him get acquired in the offseason to help this defense. So, or if anybody just happens to fall off the street, that happens to be on the other side. That'd be fine too.
You mentioned Eric Wright. He made the last play in the Dallas game to stop them, to solidify the win.
Save them. One of the biggest plays nobody ever talks about.
Everybody, yes.
Tackling Drew Pearson.
Because it came after the catch.
Right.
Yeah.
They were driving, and he stopped them on 3rd down, and that was it. That was game. So,
yeah, if you ever really want to go through and really hurt yourself, go back and watch the ways that the 49ers lost the 3 playoffs games to Dallas in the early 70s and ask yourself if you're really glad that you were born after that, because the answer is going to be yes.
Yeah.
There was one of them where they lost a playoff game and they were up 24-13 with a little over 1:20 remaining. If that had happened today, Twitter would have melted down, and I think all of social media would have just stopped. Yeah. It would just stop.
Right. Yeah.
And it was year after year after year, and it was always the 49ers finding some new and luxurious way to lose to the Cowboys in the playoffs. Yeah. If you ever go back and watch the highlights of one of the worst Super Bowls ever played, Colts, Cowboys, Super Bowl 5, that was one of the years that really the 49ers should have beaten the Cowboys and been in the Super Bowl. And they probably would have won the Super Bowl that year because the Colts played so horribly. That was one of the worst Super Bowls ever. It probably was the worst Super Bowl ever. It was probably worse than the Rams-Patriots Super Bowl a couple of years ago. That's how bad it was. Like, it was just mistake after mistake after mistake. It looked like a preseason game with flags and like junior high school football players. It was insanity.
Okay, awesome. Jess, take it away.
On that note.
All right, so I was deciding between Patrick Willis and George Kittle. And of course, those of you who know me know I'm a huge George Kittle fan, super fan. So I decided to go with George Kittle. And when I first met him was back in 2019. A couple of friends of mine asked me to go to an autograph signing down in Virginia. And, we had went and I was like super excited. And I had in my mind, I'm going through like all these things that I'm going to say to him and everything else. And of course I get to him and I said nothing besides nice to meet you. And there's the picture. And I barely got that out of the way. And then he was so super humble, super friendly, a jokester, same as he is now. And then, after the picture, he's like, I like your jersey. And I'm like, thank you. And then, my typical thing, go Niners, and I even think I told him, kick ass next year. And so that was that time. And then, just a couple of things of being a super fan about him. His family has their own podcast. It's the Hidden Pearls podcast. So their first episode in 2020, it was like an Ask George segment. So I had typed in my question because I absolutely love peanut butter. And I saw that Jimmy G likes Jiffy. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask George what he likes. And of course, George likes organic peanut butter. So, but, everything from his recent tattoos, like his Joker tattoo, Godzilla, Halo, Hobbs, just the super fan that I am and noticing all that stuff. And then when I see people kind of go after him, like, with injuries and, and that like, oh, Travis Kelce's better. Like his career stats, 363 receptions, 4,800 yards, 22 touchdowns, his 49ers franchise records, most receiving yards in a game by a tight end, most receptions in a season by a tight end, first tight end to surpass 1,000 receiving yards, just crazy numbers. And he just continues, to be that X factor for us. And then finally, this season, I had a sign made that said, "Hey, George, can we take a selfie?" And I brought it with me out to California, and I didn't get a chance to take a selfie with George. So I actually brought it to Atlanta. And I went with my mom to Atlanta, and I said, you know what, let's go by where the players are. I'm not going to bring the sign. We'll just hang out in the lobby, whatever. So we're hanging out in the lobby. I see Jimmy Garoppolo. I see Kyle Juszczyk, Ross Dwelly, Kyle Shanahan, who loved my shirt with all my Kyle faces all over it. And then all of a sudden, here comes George Kittle. And I thought I was going to pass out because this is my time to get my selfie with George Kittle. And I hear my mom going, "Oh, God, there he is." So I see him.
Thanks, Mom. No pressure, Mom. Yeah. Thanks.
And I'm like, "Oh, Mom, come on." So I see him and I'm like, "George, can we take a selfie?" And he was just like, "Sure." So he came over, took the selfie. And of course I got my cheese smile there, but I was just so excited. And he, I said, "Go Niners." And he's like, "Thanks." And that was it. And then afterwards, there was another fan that was with me. And I'm like, I almost was like hyperventilating. I'm like, oh my God. Like I finally did it. And my mother's like, "All right, can we go now? Because, you got your selfie. Let's go, So that's my
some French
George
fries
Kittle.
or something.
Yeah. Right. So that's my, that's my stories, but I love George Kittle. He's just a super great human being. And like I always say, go Niners.
So Jess, I met him at the ladies' charity a few years ago. It was his rookie season, and he showed up in place of somebody else who was supposed to come. And he's like wearing a name tag and it scratched out the other name and wrote his name there. But they had all this dress up stuff, like for the photo booth. So I have pictures of all the players like wearing big hats, dollar signs, feather boas.
Oh, cool.
Just crazy stuff. So I got my picture with George at that event and a bunch of other guys too, but having like a really nice selfie with George. A young George Kittle, a pup.
Yeah.
Before tattoos.
Cool. Yeah. That's cool. All right. So does anybody have anything else?
Yeah.
Enjoy the stress-free week, guys.
Yeah.
Like just I'm not kidding. Like I really want to put this out there. Being a fan of this team or any team really can be extremely roller coastery. Okay.
This team,
like
specifically,
this team, any team really, like, well, and it just depends on. But this team, this team specifically, like our world centers around this team, so it doesn't really matter, right? So like this team, take this week and just get the hell away from it. Like you want to watch Red Zone and stuff on Sunday, that's fine, but just relax. Everything's fine this weekend. We don't have to. There's no root for the other NFC West teams to lose if they're playing, right? Root for other NFC teams to lose. Just go AFC this weekend. Yay, AFC. right? That's it. Enjoy this weekend, recharge. If you've been traveling to the games or whatever, you don't have to travel this weekend. There's nothing. You don't have to deal with gate agents. You don't have to deal with TSA. You don't have to deal with Uber, concession stands, nothing.
Yeah.
Just relax and chill and then get back into it next week, right? Like at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. And we'll get a great big Sunday night matchup back in primetime. Back-to-back primetime games. Sunday night on NBC, Monday night on ESPN.
That we do.
I love it.
All right. So we're going to go to our hurry up offense and the 2-minute warning. And Ty, you're going to start us off.
Start it off. Let's go. Wow. Real quick, the real win this weekend is that the football gods blessed us and there were no injuries. What a great way to go into the bye. Completely healthy and getting healthier. That is the cherry on top of the ice cream or whatever they call it. Beautiful. Take it away.
Well, I'm going to add the cherry on top of your ice cream. First of all, happy birthday, Ty. Happy birthday, Jimmy G. I think the Christian McCaffrey hat trick was that very thing, the cherry on top. Not only did he run and catch a touchdown, he ran for a touchdown and threw the touchdown. Like, what sends a stronger message than I have arrived? Look at me. You have to worry about me. But go Niners. Love it. We're healthy, and you already said that, so that's a big deal too.
Christian McCaffrey definitely gives our offense, gives our team that extra energy. And we saw that last week. And it's just only going to go up from here. That's why they call us the faithful. Stay faithful. Like I said earlier, the reinforcements are on their way. And that's about it. Go Niners and enjoy this bye week.
Told you guys earlier that I'd give you your AFC finalists. I'll run through them real quick. 7 New England, 6 Cincinnati, 5 Miami, 4 Kansas City, 3 Baltimore, 2 Tennessee, and 1 Buffalo. And the AFC title game, I have Miami beating Buffalo. And in the Super Bowl, the San Francisco 49ers beating your Miami Dolphins.
Ooh,
Miami too.
Wow.
Spicy. I like that.
By the way, fun fact, that matchup on DraftKings right now, $100 bet on that would pay you just a little bit over $20,000.
Wow.
Oh,
All
wow.
right. So with that being said, thank you guys. Again, Ty, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all. I appreciate
To our
it.
viewers, hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for your support.
Yeah.
Make sure you like and subscribe. And go Niners. Let's
Go
go.
Niners. We'll see you next week.
Bang, bang, gang. See you later.
The upstart 49ers. They're 6 yards away from Pontiac. 3rd and 3.
We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly.
Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. Caught it! Dwight Clark.
Woo! Go Niners.
Hey,